Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the school committee meeting. I'll call it to order. Again, if you have comments that you wish to make, please put them in the chat. We'll try to address them as best we can. We try to handle everything that we can see. First item on the agenda is report from school committee members. Does anyone have anything they wish to report? Seeing no one. Then I will ask Dr. Gates, who's running the technical aspects of our meeting tonight, to bring in Kate Laverovich and Samantha Deschamette, who are the new co-presidents of the Middleborough Education Association. So welcome to you both, and welcome to the school committee meeting.
Thank you. Welcome. I haven't, don't know if my mic is on.
You are fine, Kate.
You are on.
Okay, good. And Sam and I both have a little bit to say tonight, just to introduce ourselves and tell you a little bit what's been going on from our perspective. I think Sam's going first, right, Sam?
Yes. Hello, I'm Samantha Deschamette, one of the co-presidents. I just wanted to say thank you for letting us come on. Just some things to bring up today is we're very thankful for the collaboration of the entire MOA team. The agreement was completed and signed and ready to go, and the kids are coming in on Tuesday, so we're very happy about that. And we've also just completed 8 of 10 PD days. Everyone has been working closely in teams and grade levels and departments across the district. Teachers helping teachers navigate this new teaching and learning, whether they're in the buildings or from remote locations. So it's been interesting.
All right, and I'm Kate Lazarovich, formerly the vice president of the union and now co-president with Sam Deschamette. I wanted to report a couple of things that we've been doing as well. The members of the e-board were able to tour all the buildings last week with a facilities manager, Hutch, and his wonderful staff. We were able to see all the progress made in setting up classrooms and additional spaces in some of the buildings that are going to be used as classrooms that are being created from other spaces. We're also able to talk about the ventilation in the buildings and the sanitizing procedures. We want to thank everyone who was involved in the ongoing hard work that is necessary to be ready for our students to return safely to school. And the other thing I wanted to say was finally that we would like to thank Frank Catino for his many years of service with the Middleborough Education Association. He's not gone yet because he is the immediate past president, so he'll still be around helping us out. He started back in 2004 as a building rep for Middleborough High School. He became the vice president in 2008, I believe, and he has served as vice president till 2014 when he took over as president. So he's served as president for the past 6 years. And he's done a wonderful job. He's always led with dedication to all of the many members that he's represented over the years. And he will continue, like I said, to be involved with Middleborough Education Association as the immediate past president and helping Sam and I take over the reins. And we have really big shoes to fill.
Thank you, Gus. Does anyone have any questions for Sam or Kate? Mr. Oakwood.
Hi, very nice to meet both of you online here. I just wondered if, obviously you have big shoes to fill, and also you have a lot of challenges coming up that wouldn't exist in a normal year. But I wondered if you guys had any goals as new, co-presidents of the organization that you'd like to work with us on going forward.
Sam comes first alphabetically, so I'm always deferring to her first. Go ahead, Sam.
Smart.
We are coming into quite a different type of school year. We're just hoping to be able to work collaboratively with everybody to resolve anything that comes out or comes up that needs to be done. We've been hitting some obstacles and finding the answers to them this past couple weeks, and we're just really looking forward to working with everyone to keep everything hopefully running smoothly.
Yeah, I would say our personal goal, my personal goal for the beginning of the year is just a social, emotional well-being for everyone. We need to take care of ourselves. We've all worked really hard this summer. We negotiated this MOA over many, many weeks and many meetings, and we feel confident with the MOA that we will be returning to a safe environment, that, you know, they're working with us, we're working with them, we're you know, the maintenance and custodial staff has been amazing to set up things over the summer, to make sure all the desks were spaced apart, to give teacher space at the beginning of the rooms, at the front of the rooms where we will be able to be, you know, distancing socially, working on the mask policy that Brian and the school committee worked on really hard. That's going to be really important. So our goal is going to be, I think, working collaboratively with the school committee, with the administration, to make sure that we start off with a safe environment and as engaging as we can for the students when they're both in front of us, for those that will be, and also those who will be remote.
Excellent. Thank you. We really look forward to working with you guys.
Great.
Any other questions? So before we go, the only thing I want everyone to know too is, as part of our agreement, Kate, Sam, myself, and Brian will be meeting regularly, primarily just to make sure everything's going okay, given the strangeness of the start of this year, and making sure that everybody's needs are met and there's no issues. And so we would do that occasionally with Frank, but we made it more structured for the beginning, especially the beginning of the year. So just to let everybody know. And thank you. And I enjoyed our time together this summer. And look forward to our continued time together this year.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report. So I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Lynch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. During my report, I'll have a number of people in and out of the stage. Ryan Sylvia will be able to help out with a South Shore League update. Sarah Hickey is going to join for our free lunch update. So, and certainly Dr. Gates will help with the COVID-19 update with regard to the reopening plan for the 2020-2021 school year. I'd like to open by saying that we do have opening day for students next Tuesday, September 15th, both virtually and in person, and we're looking forward to it. You could hear the members of the Teachers Association talking about the fact that, you know, although there are certainly anxieties amongst faculty, staff, and students and administration, that we do plan on opening. We're going to open. It will be a successful opening, I'm sure. And we'll be reporting back on that next week in terms of sort of the details of opening day. It will be a week B, as we talked about a little bit last week, where we'll have 2 days in and 2 days out for those students who are in cohorts. So it'll be a nice even week for them. I'd also note, as the representatives from MEA noted, that we have had professional development for the last consecutive 8 days. Many of them have been doing their own over the summer, which is admirable, sort of honing on new skills with regard to remote or distance learning, et cetera. But they have been in either virtually or in person with PD for the last 8 days. I did a bit of a convocation with the administrative staff on the first day, and we've moved on from there. So it's been successful. I've been able to get around to some of the buildings at different times, but people have been so busy, they may not even have noticed me. I stick my head in every once in a while, but I was pleased to see, I saw Kate Lazarovich and her crew of teachers getting ready for the HPB year. And that was a great little meeting that was being held, and they're all working together, and it was great to see. So the other piece to this beginning of the year is sort of handing out the technology that we have in the district to those students. We have had a couple of nights or 2 or 3 nights of high school, 1 or 2 at Nichols Middle School, and those have gone well. That technology sort of dispensing has gone well. We are at a little bit of a crossroads at the elementary level, and the folks at home know, if you're a parent or a family member, that I sent out an email to all students actually and families, sort of imploring people about the technology needs, especially at the elementary level. And let me sort of characterize those. As you know, and I've stated in a number of meetings this summer, we have ordered 2,000 Chromebooks, and we've ordered 275 teacher units. And basically, those have not arrived yet. We anticipated their arrival. We ordered them early enough to certainly anticipate their arrival, but there were some difficulties with that. Having said that, we're going to take every single available computer that we have within the district and make sure they're all working and get them out to folks. But based on need, and this is the key, and I sort of characterized this in an email out to families, that email I mentioned. We're asking for those folks out there that where it's essential that they need a computer at home. It's absolutely essential they need one. We're asking families to get creative and cooperative in some instances with each other and try to come up with systems where they can find technology from, whether it's from somebody in their family or somebody, a neighbor that might have an extra unit during the day for students to use, because we're at that point where we have a good number of units at the elementary level, but we do not have enough for every student right now. We simply do not have enough for every student. We have some units for faculty, but we don't have enough for every faculty member at the elementary level. So it is our hope that we would ask that folks go to that, go from the, it would be really nice to have a computer for my child or children, to that I would really want a computer for my child or children, to it is absolutely essential that I have basic technology for my child at home because I don't have it now. The other piece to this is the hotspots that we have advertised. We have ordered hotspots. We've ordered a number of them. But those were based on a survey that we had done in the fall asking folks, how many of you have homes where you simply do not have internet? And that's what that ordering was about. That's why we ordered. But when we put out a thing saying, put out a notice saying, sort of, could you use a hotspot? We had far more than what the survey had indicated originally. So that is another item that we're looking for people who have an essential need. If you do not have internet at your home, we want to provide you with a hotspot. But if you have internet at home, and it would be nice to have a hotspot, or you'd like to have a hotspot, we're trying to get back to that essential nature, that bottom line of people that don't have internet at home. And that's what those were originally ordered and designed for. So that's what we're asking. We're asking for cooperation from families to be creative. We're asking for people. We have a bring your own device registration in the school system that has been sort of dormant for the last couple of years. We want to bring that back. If your child has a computer at home that they can bring back and forth, they can certainly register the device. So that would free up a device for another student. For middle school and high school students who might be on different cohorts, sharing computers would be one of those examples of being creative. So that's what we're looking for. I would certainly invite Dr. Gates into the conversation here to talk about some of the things that she's done, some of the frustrations we've had. We had a deal with Staples this week. It was one of those first come first served. Dr. Gates communicated with folks at Staples. We put an order together for almost $10,000 worth of technology. We had a PO within an hour, which is lightning speed for our district, and we had it ready to go. She sent it to the folks at Staples, and it was like, oh, sorry, those are gone. So there's so much demand, and I know that places like Foxborough and Bridgewater Rainham and other communities are having the same issues where they've ordered computers as far back in some cases as April and May, and we happen to order in June, but those folks are still waiting for technology. So it's frustrating as a district. We apologize as a district to the community. It is something that we're working on. It is something that I have a group of people meeting tomorrow to do some more brainstorming on how we determine who has the most essential need for this technology. But again, Dr. Gates, I would defer to you for a few moments, and I don't know if you can add anything to my comments.
Thank you, Superintendent Lynch. You certainly captured much of the saga, as I'd like to refer to it, because it just keeps evolving. We certainly appreciate everyone's patience with this situation. So much is unprecedented at this time and in all aspects of life. So everyone's patience is much appreciated. We are, digging out every device that we can in the district that is viable for not only our students to use, but for some staff members as well. We are meeting, as Superintendent Lynch said, we're going to meet tomorrow and just bring a few more minds into the mix to just think more creatively about what solutions we may have. But it's really important that those families that are in need are the ones that we're able to address first. I would like to just, echo the sentiments that you shared, Superintendent Lynch, about the request with hotspots. We based our initial purchase off of the initial survey data, and the surveys have informed our decisions, but much of the data has changed over time as perhaps some family situations have changed, and we're doing our best to accommodate that. But I think technology's become the new toilet paper, for example. It's just not there for us. It's not there even if you were to go out to Staples or Best Buy yourself. It's hard to find an affordable device for your children. We understand that, and we're just doing our best to try to provide the technology. There are occasional leads that do come into play, as you mentioned, with Staples. We were ready to go to purchase 36 more devices that were available, but again, it was first come, first serve. And even though we acted as quickly as we could, we just missed that opportunity. We'll continue to exhaust what opportunities do come our way, but if families could continue to think creatively on their end of how they could just minimally provide a device for their child to access at home. While it would be great for children to bring their device to school, we must ensure that our children can access their education on our remote days, and that is what is most critical. So forget bringing the device to school. If you have one at home that your child can use during their remote days, it would be very much appreciated if you could allow your children to do so. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns or even ideas. I'm open to all of them. My email address is melaniegates@middleborough.k12.ma.us, and I welcome any thoughts or questions that families do have.
You're going to be too quiet. I need you.
Mr. Chair, you're muted.
The one question I see, Melanie, is it's still expected that elementary school students are expected to bring their devices in school days.
In an ideal situation, that would be yes, but we know that many families do not feel comfortable allowing their younger children to bring a device back and forth, and that is completely understood and respected. So if you do have a device and you're hesitant to allow your child to bring it, that's fine. We've been talking amongst our administrative team, and I know they've been speaking with teachers about what we do during our in-person days. I don't want our in-person days being our children interacting with a device. They will have plenty of time for that on the remote days. We need to value the time that we're together in person and use that time in a fashion absent a device. There will always be some level of need perhaps to access technology, to model technology, and we'll find a way to accommodate that. But it's going to be most imperative that we do have device access at home.
That's far more important. Thank you.
Teresa, you had a question.
Yes, Dr. Gates or Mr. Lynch, I'm not sure. And I know that you talked about the liability form, or the form that was the bring your own device. So one of the questions that had come up, and myself included, if my son is bringing his device, what is the liability on that? I mean, what if he comes home and says, my device was stolen? So I just kind of feel like people might want to feel a little bit better or more secure about how that's going to look for them.
My response to that, Teresa, with all due respect, it's like personal property when they bring it in.
Yeah.
It's like their wallet or their trumpet. They're sort of, that's their unit. I think it's incumbent upon them to be really careful about the unit. We'd have to talk to Oliver Insurance, who carries the town insurance, to see if there's any type of coverage that would be there in terms of anything that might be stolen. But I would certainly let any high schooler or middle schooler know that if they want to use their own unit, it's incumbent upon them to put it in their backpack and secure it safely, and to make sure that they watch it like a hawk, if you will. We can certainly check into the fact that if they're stolen, then we'd have to look at that to see if there's some type of insurance that we could do. I know that our insurance in the past has involved deductibles, et cetera. So I'd really have to check with John Oliver and Oliver and Insurance on that. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Melanie, one question that came up is there anywhere online where a parent can go to and look for specs needed for a device?
Yes, as I've said before, essentially you need a device that has an updated web browser, has a webcam, and has a microphone. You know, the specs in terms of memory and all of that can vary. You know, I think typically like 4 gigabyte is somewhat the lower threshold on a Windows-based device. But I can certainly post some specifications, particularly on Google Meet, which I believe is the question I just saw come in as well. I can post those out on the discussion once I have a moment to find them quickly.
And Dr. Gates, a BYOD device would have to be registered with the district. How do people go about that?
If families do intend on their children bringing a device to school, they just need to let me know. They can email me and let me know their child's name. And I will then communicate that to our network manager. He will then enable the students access to then register with BYOD, which is bring your own device. Yes. Teachers have already been given the instructions for themselves to register their device for BYOD, and those same directions would be used for students. We just need to be able to register the student before they can follow the steps that the teachers have available to them.
Thanks. Any other questions from members? Mr. Rowe. Greg, go right ahead.
Through you,
Greg.
Mr. Chair. Thank you. So one thing I've noticed is if they had a device last spring that they were using for their online school, would that device still be capable of doing what teachers expect in the fall?
Yes, I think as long as that device allowed them to do Zoom and do the other online platforms that we had in the spring, it should work fine with the platforms we're using this year. We're really only adding in really 3 new platforms currently. Zoom is being replaced by Google Meet. We're using Seesaw. It's a portfolio-based application that is best to demonstrate the learning of our pre-K through 2nd grade students. It's a bit more developmentally appropriate for them. That's web-based as well. And then the other one is Freckle, which is also a web-based application. So as long as folks could get on the internet, and they should be fine with the apps that we have moving out. If I may, Mr. Chair, I see a question from Ms. Balser about what does registering for BYOD mean. Essentially, that is the network manager would just be allowing a child to register their account. So we do not have our Bring Your Own Device network open for people to just click on and register with automatically. We first kind of pre-register you so that we know that you will be an authorized user, and then students can use their credentials for school to then access the Bring Your Own Device network.
Other questions from committee members? Then what I'm going to do is, Melanie, I know you gave out your email and everything like that, and the technology page is on the school page, so people can check into that, and if they have questions, they can get answers through there. They can email you, or Sean, I believe, is on there also, and Kate Godine, and a wide variety of people that they can email and find out information from. So thank you very much, Melanie. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll close that out at this point. We'll move on, if there are no other questions, to policy EBC-S, policy on COVID-related issues. Mr. Chair.
Okay. So that's this is the 3rd read. We didn't take this up last time primarily because we had a technology piece that made more sense. This piece allows the superintendent to waive certain policies given what has happened with COVID. For example, one of the policy requirements that was waived this year was the MCAS requirement for seniors, because MCAS could not take place this year. So therefore the state had ended it, so the superintendent was allowed to do that. There are certain pieces, as we talked about before, that the superintendent can't waive because they relate to the school committee policy. Only school committee can waive those. For example, community service is a requirement of graduation also, but that is our policy. So this just gave essentially the list of policies that the superintendent can waive if needed, if this continues beyond. Any questions about that? Makes sense to everybody? Then the chair would entertain a motion to accept the third and final reading of the policy.
So moved.
So moved.
Do I
Second.
hear a second? Second. Discussion? Hearing none, it calls for a roll call vote. Ms. Farley? Ms. Janess?
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Rowe? Mr. Rowe?
Aye.
Mr. Oakley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And moving on with my report, last week we had this press release sort of at the last minute before the meeting, and we were going to talk about it under unanticipated, but it did. It's on the agenda tonight, so that you folks have it in the Dropbox. I would certainly invite. There's Ryan. How are you, Ryan?
Hi, everybody.
I invite Ryan Sylvia, our athletic director, on board. This comes as something that came from the representatives of the South Shore League, which, if you look at sort of the definition of that with this press release, we're talking about athletic directors first, and then principals and superintendents. We're all involved in the development of this press release and development of what the South Shore League is going to look like this fall. And this is something that Ryan has published in his newsletter that he sends out, a SMORE newsletter. Ryan, if you want to just sort of touch on this press release and what it entails, it basically is the summary of what you brought to the fore before. It just sort of talks about volleyball a little bit here, and it talks about the September start.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Lynch, and thanks for having me on the meeting again this week. So there were some slight changes that we had kind of been really on top of all of the guidance we were receiving from the MIAA and the state level, and reviewing it at the league level with the 10 schools within our league. And some decisions were made initially that you probably remember, and then some of the school districts within the league thought it was important to kind of review some of these policies because of some different circumstances that they have that maybe our school district does not. So, for example, the league initially voted on allowing volleyball, which was within the guidance that was released from the state. But because of some space issues and gymnasiums and schools within the league, they opted to push that to the fall 2 season. So there's really 3 main points. That's one of them. So how that affects Middleborough is our volleyball program will still compete this year, but they'll be moved to the fall 2 season, which doesn't start until February 22nd and goes till April 25th. The kind of bright side of that is that it is still a traditional fall sport, which means they can still practice this season. So we actually had our first coaches meeting last night with our fall coaches, or yesterday afternoon, and we're planning on having some form of volleyball practice this fall in preparation for the fall 2 season, similar to what we're doing with football, cheerleading, and unified basketball. The other major change that came out of these kind of revisions was the first day of fall sports and tryouts was initially September 18th, Friday, September 18th, and the league chose to bump that back 1 week to September 25th, and that was reflected in the newsletter that went out as well, kind of giving schools just an extra week to get used to kind of the new normal in the classroom and with just all of the rules and routines and safety precautions, and then starting sports after that. So our Our fall sports registration was initially scheduled to open last Friday. We bumped it to this Friday, tomorrow. So by the end of the day tomorrow, the online registration for athletics, both fall and fall 2, will be open. And we'll plan on starting practices on September 25th. Just kind of another update with that, this is all going to go out in the newsletter and through communication from our athletics office. But the fall 2 sports, as of now, are scheduled to start their kind of limited practices a week later than the traditional fall sports. So the fall sports that are competing this year, soccer, field hockey, cross country, those sports are all starting on the 25th. The fall 2 sports are going to start the following week on October 2nd. Also, the Nichols Middle School teams, we're going to be, I'm communicating with the principal over at Nichols, Mrs. Latender, and deciding on a start date for Nichols Middle School. The registration for Nichols Middle School will open tomorrow. The start date is kind of to be determined right now. It's looking like it's going to be October 2nd as well, that following week, to give them a little more time to get up and running. The third piece of this press release that came out was sub-varsity sports. There was some talk initially about not having a set schedule for sub-varsity sports within the league. And that's kind of been updated a little bit more to allow for individual schools to set their sub-varsity schedules as needed. The good thing about that is that the majority of the schools within the league are still scheduling sub-varsity games. And I've been working pretty hard to get the middle school teams games on their schedule as well. So I'm confident that we're going to have a full slate of games with an abbreviated season because it's a shorter season, but a full slate of games where most teams are playing, at least a couple times a week throughout the year. Let me see. So that's kind of my basic update on the South Shore League. I'll be sending out communication to all of our stakeholders in the next couple of days here and through social media that we are going to have our fall sports parent meeting virtually, and it's going to be through this same kind of venue, StreamYard, and streamed live and then posted on the website. It's in replacement of our usual kind of big auditorium meeting that we do at the high school, and just reviewing everything that parents and families need to know to get ready for the fall sports season. So there's more to come on that, but I just kind of wanted to give a little plug for that. So people are keeping an eye on their email, checking that newsletter. There's constant updates, as we all know, with the situation we're dealing with. So we're looking forward to just getting fall sports cranked up and getting the kids back out there and active.
So, Ryan, if you will, there is some silver lining. And the silver lining for us is that both volleyball and the unified basketball program will get to play their games in the brand new gym.
Yes, as it's scheduled now, yes, absolutely. That would be definitely a silver lining.
And that wasn't the case originally.
Right. That was not the case originally for this year. And we're going to schedule practices for the fall, for this fall for them as well. That's still within the guidance. We're still allowed to do that. We're just kind of, in order to be a good member of the league, we have to follow, what the league's decided on that.
And Ryan, there was a question that came in. Has there been any discussion as of yet about hockey?
There's been discussions kind of at the state level, and I know they're meeting on, and I know youth hockey has developed some modifications. The initial discussions that we've had about hockey as a league were that we have, and our feeling is that it's probably going to be a go with some serious modifications, like basically a no check hockey situation. So we're limiting contact, but it's still to be determined.
And thank you, Ryan. I appreciate all that you and the athletic directors are doing. Especially in regards to some Some programs have outright canceled the fall season altogether. Some leagues have decided that they're not going to run a fall season. So we appreciate the efforts that you guys have put forth. Does anyone have any questions for Ryan? It looks like you're getting off easy tonight, Ryan.
Sorry, I know I can be pretty long-winded. I just want to make sure I'm getting all the information out there.
We appreciate it, Ryan.
And thanks, Ryan. And I just want to reiterate again that the superintendents, principals, and athletic directors are committed to involving students in sports, but in a safe and healthy manner. So I think that's the key, and we all agreed on that. A little bit more about the start date. Most schools were starting on the 15th or 16th of September. Superintendents felt, number one, that might be a little bit too quick. So another week would be good just to get kids acclimated to school. And then get, announcements and understand schedules, et cetera. And also the fact that weekend is Rosh Hashanah. So Rosh Hashanah runs from September 18th through the 20th of September. So that would be difficult to coordinate also with students participating in Rosh Hashanah. So just a couple of additional items, but thank you, Ryan. We do appreciate it. And your hard work all summer trying to get this ready and working with the athletic directors on behalf of our students. So thanks.
And thank you for your support. I think we're really fortunate in this community to have the support of our superintendent and school committee, because you can see that might not be the case in some other places. So.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Next on my agenda tonight, my report is a free lunches.
Free lunch.
A free lunch update from Sarah Hickey, Director of Business and Finance. We haven't seen a lot of Sarah this summer at our meetings because she's been busy in her office writing grants and doing end of the year reports and all those things that are required. This is a real busy time. Lots of purchasing, obviously, COVID purchasing and normal purchasing. So lots been going on from the business office. And certainly we thank her for all the work she's done and welcome her here tonight to provide us with an update on some exciting news that has come out. And you've probably, most folks have heard about it, but a little bit more background into it and what it involves. So welcome, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Lynch. On the agenda, it does say free lunch update. This is really a child nutrition program for students of the Middleborough Public Schools update. We all know that children need good nutrition all year long, and the Middleborough Public Schools will provide free meals for all of our students during the school days. So let me give you the high level information here. The National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program are federally assisted meal programs operating in public and non-profit private schools. They provide nutritionally balanced, low-cost, or free lunches to children each school day. So when we think about our school lunch program, that's what we think about. It's the NSLP, National School Lunch Program, and they also run a breakfast program. There's a separate program called the Summer Food Service Program, and that makes it possible for schools to provide nutritious meals after the regular school year ends. So what I'm going to be talking about is the Summer Food Service Program. So on August 31st, the USDA announced that it would be extending the Summer Food Service Program. And this is great news for us because the summer program is more flexible than the regular school year program. So for example, the regular school lunch program and breakfast program have requirements about where the students can eat and who you can give meals to. And the summer program allows us the flexibility that we had this summer with the grab and go program, where we could give meals to a parent or guardian for the children. So it was announced on August 31st that the summer program is going to be extended. It's going to be extended through December 31st or when the money runs out for the program. So they have a certain amount of money that has been budgeted to the U.S. Department of Agriculture for this program. And so the summer program has been extended to December 31st or earlier if the money runs out before then. I mentioned the grab and go program that we had this summer at the Berkland School. We're going to be continuing that program for the students that are in remote programs or that, so either on the hybrid model on their remote days or in a fully remote program, they're still eligible for the grab and go lunches. There was a typo on the press release that went out from the Middleborough Public Schools, so I wanted to mention that there will be pickup twice a day from 9:15 to 9:45 in the morning at the Berkland School and from 11 to 11:30 at the Berkland School. It had said on the press release that it would be from 12 to 12:30, so I just wanted everyone to be aware that it's actually 11 to 11:30. The last thing I wanted to say to the families in the community, I'm going to encourage you to fill out the paperwork for the free and reduced lunch program. That paperwork that goes out every year that gets filled out and sent back to the school. Because we have this new program, you might think, oh, I don't have to fill this paperwork out this year, but it's actually very important to us because we want to have you set up in the computer so that if on October 31st or November 18th, the U.S. Department of Agriculture says, okay, we ran out of money, this program is ending, we will still be able to provide the free and reduced lunches to students that we have been providing all along pre-COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Questions about the free reduced lunch program or this in particular? This is exceptional by the USDA. As you said, Sarah, the summer program gives us a lot more options than the traditional lunch program does. So that's fantastic. And it allows us to feed families who are not in school, which is very important too. So thank you, Sarah. Thank you for all your hard work on that. Thank you, Elise.
You're welcome.
And Mr. Chair, that concludes my report, and thank you, Sarah, for your report. I was saying that, but apparently I was muted, so.
That's okay. I was saying a lot, and then I was muted too. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second. The consent agenda tonight just relates to minutes for the September 3rd meeting. Any comments or discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call. Mr. Stevens? Mr. Rowe?
Aye.
Mr. There you go. Ms. Janess? Ms. Farley?
Aye.
Mr. Oakley? And the chair
Aye.
votes aye. The last item that we have on our agenda for tonight is the surplus AV equipment. So the audiovisual equipment was listed as being surplus. Just so everyone understands, again, the surplus equipment gets offered to other town departments first, and then we look for ways to dispose of them. These have all been declared obsolete and unusable, correct, Mr. Lynch?
Yep, Mr. Chair, these came through Adam Pelletier and Sean Siciliano. It is a lot of equipment that was most of it original to the Nichols Middle School building, and nearly all of it is 20 years old. There are cassette boom boxes, which in some cases work, in some cases don't work. But there are some things that the young people of today sometimes don't even know what a cassette tape is. Much like the semi-older people don't know what an 8-track tape is. But Rich Young still has reel-to-reel, so.
Yeah, I have 8-track. I had an 8-track. That's cool.
I had an 8-track.
You know you did too, Mr. Lynch, so you're not fooling anybody.
I had an 8-track. There's no doubt about it. In my first car that I bought for $335.
Would somebody make the motion to? Did we make the motion to? Somebody make the motion to declare them surplus? Do I hear a second?
Yes. So moved.
Discussion.
Second.
Hearing none. Again, roll call. Ms. Farley?
Aye.
Ms. Janess, Mr. Oakley,
Aye.
Mr. Stevens, Mr. Rowe,
Aye. Aye.
and the chair votes aye. I have that 7-second delay with the Mr. Rowe, but that's fine. And again, because somebody put it in the question, for the summer program extending, if you are eligible for free or reduced lunch, you should still apply, because at some point this extension will end, and you want to be in the system and ready to go. So that's a big piece. Any other questions or comments before we go? Our next meeting will be next Thursday night. That'll be our last meeting before school begins. And so I would really suggest to people, if people have particular questions next week that they'd like answers to, if they could send them to the superintendent or my email on the school committee page. We'll make sure those questions are answered for the start of school, for that meeting. Get ready for the start of school in case people have missed things. Mr. Lynch, do you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, we do start school on Tuesday, September 15th. So we're going to be starting school before next week's meeting. So just
sorry, I'm just
okay. And I also wanted to note that there are, at the bottom of this agenda, there are a number of retirements, a number of resignations, and a number of new hires. So this is sort of the summative list that we publish just before school each year to recognize those folks who have been in the district for a number of years. And it certainly is a lengthy list, but much admiration and respect for all those people on those lists, those that are leaving us and those that are joining us. So thank you to them all.
Somebody asked how do people apply for free and reduced lunch? And is a form, will that be on the school's homepage, Mr. Lynch, each of the schools?
Yes, we'll get that on there if it's not on there now. And if you go to food services, it probably is. I'll make sure, double check with Rebecca Bagnell, who's our food services director. People can contact her directly. She is still doing the grab and go food every morning from 9 to 10 at the Berkland School. So anybody with any questions can ask her at that time, but we'll make sure that form is available. And we do have a number of people who may not have been eligible last year who would be eligible this year. And that's the key. And that's a big driver for a lot of our programs and our grants, just like the census is. If you look at it like the census, it really drives a lot of funding for federal grants and state grants, et cetera. So it's important that people, if they qualify to register, and that would be, it's a confidential process. And it's held confidentially, certainly by the district. So,
and just to be clear, that is one form that the superintendent and I don't have access to or can't see. It's only held by the person running the lunch program.
Right. And it would only be accessed by me for certain, absolutely certain reasons. And I'm, again, all of our employees are confidential employees. So, but somebody that looks at this list is absolutely required to be confidential.
The last thing I just wanted to let the committee know, the superintendent and I had a discussion, and as did Mr. Oakley and I know many of you are working in schools. Mr. Oakley and myself are available next week, so we will be in and out of the schools, sort of to be the school committee's eyes and ears and to take a look at things and report back next week. Normally, we would make sort of a walkthrough on the first day of school. The superintendent and I have always made a walkthrough in each of the schools the first days together. So this will be sort of that modified walkthrough, and we'll report back to you next week.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, in closing, I know that the representatives from the Middleborough Education Association mentioned the walkthroughs that were held last week at 7 a.m. in each of the schools throughout the week. I want to thank certainly Jim Hutchinson for being there and for noting everything with our maintenance staff, and for noting everything and for following up on everything. And he really spent the weekend, literally Labor Day weekend, in the school with a couple of the maintenance staff and getting motors running and making sure everything, windows open, and making sure all those things that were noted in any of those reports were taken care of and continue to be taken care of. So I want to thank Jim Hutch and the maintenance staff, also the custodial staff for their hard work in getting our schools ready.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Very second.
Second.
Ms. Farley,
Aye.
Ms. Janess,
Aye.
Mr. Stevens,
Aye.
Mr. Oakland,
Aye.
Mr. Rowe,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
And Mr. Chair, Rebecca Bagnell has chimed in and said that it is on the website. So
Excellent. And that is the free reduced lunch
reduced
application.
lunch form, yes.
Thank you very much.